Welcome to Spartan Up Podcast. We're filming today at Fenway, the storied Boston Stadium behind us. We don't have Joe with us today because he's down there helping put this race on. We also don't have Sephra with us today because she is in Fiji doing some important seed work. We've got Colonel Tim Nye.
Roger.
We've got Dr. Laura Pence.
Copy.
We've got Johnny Waite. And you know what? We're here today to talk about Brian Dickinson. His incredible story, climbs Everest by himself, gets to the top completely solo, goes totally blind.
Yeah. It's an incredible story about what do you do in that moment when it almost feels like there's no options.
Yeah.
You know, that's awesome.
Well, he didn't have any options. It's either live or die.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's it.
He had one,
he chose life.
And I don't want to give a spoiler here. He did live because we got to talk to him.
Right, obviously.
And you know what? We talked to him like we talked to so many guests on this podcast. Every week we have somebody come on here with an unbelievable story.
Yep.
They share it with us, and we have the opportunity to actually break it down, talk about it at the end, which we're going to make sure you come back and share what we got from it, and hopefully you'll get a lot from it as well. You know what? This is getting bigger and better. We're learning more from you. You're learning more from us, and we're learning lots from people like Brian Dickinson. So come on back at the end, and we'll talk about it.
We are here for Spartan Up Podcast. I am with Brian Dickinson in Lake Tahoe, and we are talking about, among other things, blind descent. But before we get into that, we were just talking about some friends we have in common, Mark Devine, Seal Fit.
Yep.
And you just hung out with him, and you got him to commit to climbing Rainier.
That's right.
How many, so you, because I don't know anything, Everest, the only climb you've done, or
No.
Oh, you've done a ton?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I live in the Pacific Northwest.
So you're always climbing?
Climbing all the time, climb the highest peaks on the 7 continents.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. So and Rainier is just another, you just can't stay down.
It's in my backyard.
Got it.
Yep.
You were going to ask, but I'll tell you in advance of you asking. I was going to attempt a record of climbing the 7 highest peaks and then racing to sea level with a buddy of mine. And this was 2005. And our first climb was Aconcagua. And it was going to take place, I believe, January, February, if that makes sense. And my company was getting sold. It just randomly happened at the same time. And we had bought the tickets and we had done everything, and I just couldn't make it. My friend went, and he did it successfully, and he raced to sea level. And then I chased him because I wanted to catch up because we had six more to do.
Right.
And I went to Aconcagua, and I had to acclimatize like everybody does, right? And I spent a bunch of time. For me, a bunch of time was 4 or 5 days, maybe. We were getting acclimatized on the way up and coming down a little bit. And I found myself in the tent, and it was like snowing inside the tent, even though it was zipped up because you're exhaling, right?
Right.
And I'm with a Polish guy. At this point, I have a brand new, beautiful bride at home. And I'm with this Polish guy who I don't know, and it's snowing in the tent, and we're a couple hundred feet from summiting. And I'm saying, what the hell am I doing here? Like if I was sweating and working the whole time carrying a kettlebell, I would actually have been happy. I could have understood that. I could not understand sitting in the tent with this guy. So that was the last climb for me.
Okay.
And it wasn't like we didn't nearly die, or we didn't have anything that like what you're going to get into here. I just I don't know. It's a weakness of mine, right? I can't really sit for a long time, and I don't have the patience.
Same with me. It's been probably the biggest obstacle for me to overcome. It's that mental toughness of downtime.
Just downtime.
Yeah.
And you're married?
I am, with 2 kids.
With 2 kids. How old are the kids?
12 and 14.
12 and 14. And how do you reconcile that on the mountain?
It's tough. And like I said, it's the hardest thing. Leaving them in those moments, not with a Polish guy, but whoever I'm with. Maybe it's by myself.
I love Polish, by the way. I just want to...
Yeah, it just happened to be. It's tough, and there's a million reasons to turn around and go back because life at home is beautiful, and I love that. But it's not who I am. I'm not wired that way. I climb for a reason. I'm trying to get something out of it. I'm trying to inspire not only myself, but others. Inspire my kids, my family, to do more, to be who you are. My wife recognizes that. She's a counselor, and it's great that she recognizes who I am.
And accepts it,
allows it, because otherwise I'm sitting on the couch and I'm not the person that she fell in love with.
Sure. You need it.
Yep.
How long have you climbed? How many years?
I grew up in Southern Oregon, so I guess technically I've always, I grew up. I mean, you'd like it because I grew up on 100 acres up on a mountain.
Oh, nice.
And I'd bring rope out. I'm in high school, making obstacles all through the mountains. Brought my kids out there a couple years ago. I'm like, I wonder if that stuff's still there. Sure enough.
Oh, wow.
My kids are like, grabbing the rope. I'm like, no, don't climb that tree because it's going to snap. It's all brittle. Sure. 20 years later, but
sure. Yeah. So this is who you are. This is you're wired for this.
Yeah.
And for me, I grew up in Queens. I think it's awesome to be in the mountains. Just where we are right now is incredible. But if I was single and I didn't have kids, maybe.
Well, then you'd be wasting that time when you could be at home meeting girls.
There you go. That's true too. That's true too.
Well, that's why Rainier and some of these, like where I live, the Cascades, you're up and down in a couple days, so you're constantly moving.
You get back home.
Yeah. I've done Denali 3 times, snowboarded it once.
Nice.
I've been pinned down at high camp for a week.
Wow.
Like, talk about crazy. Lock yourself in the bathroom for a week.
Yeah,
at least you have a toilet.
See how that goes.
Yeah.
In Queens, there was a saying, like, that guy could do time in a telephone booth because everybody went to jail. And so he was so tough, the argument went, right, that he could just stand in a telephone booth. But I don't think you really understand it until, like you said, you're trapped up there, right?
Yeah, it's miserable.
So let's talk about the book for a second, and then we'll come back to. I'm really interested in the swimming too, but 2011, you decided to climb Everest.
Yep.
First time.
Yep.
With oxygen, without oxygen.
Yeah. So it was an agreement. My wife, she's like, "Yeah, you can do this one," because I was doing the 7 summits, highest peaks on the 7 continents.
Where was it in the series?
It's 3 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah, and my first one was Denali, and it was a failure. I didn't make it to the top, but it was a success, and then I made it back.
Okay. Success is getting down.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. But I could have scrapped it at that point.
Sure.
But it was a life lesson, not to get me down. So it was like 3 or 4 on the list, and I went as independent. I wasn't part of a large group. So I had some Sherpa support. Nice. But for the most part, I was alone on the mountain a lot.
Which was that your MO leading, like as a kid and everything? You always climbed alone?
It's been a mix. I grew up in the 80s, and there wasn't all the distractions that kids have today. Social media, technology. So I was outside a lot, and just working towards however I was wired and figuring it out. And I think the mountains actually brings me back to that.
Childhood.
And just enjoy it.
That makes sense. So you're going alone, which is rare. You don't right? I mean, you don't hear about that as much. Usually people are going in groups.
Yep.
Is it less expensive, more expensive to go alone?
It was less.
Less expensive? Yeah. Was that help determine it too, or you just didn't want to be part of a big group?
I had sponsors.
Okay.
So whatever the cost was, I was going to beg for money and try to get it funded. But no, it just so I've been on guided groups before, and you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Sure.
And first time on Denali, that was the case. We're within 1,000 feet. We can see the summit. Not everyone in the group could make it. Everyone turn around.
Makes sense now.
Smart thing. Good day to live. But climbing Everest, climbing other things, it's just, once you have the experience and the skill and everything else, it's just a different experience. Yeah.
Sure. So you get there what month?
So the climbing season's April and May, so you have to acclimate. Yep. Everest being at 29,000 feet. It's only a third of the ozone up there. So you have to climb up and down the mountain multiple times. And what that does is it forces your body into oxygen-deprived areas that then it creates more red blood cells, and you can survive higher and higher. So April was all acclimatization, and May was waiting for a weather window. Yeah. And my summit day was May 15th.
Wow. And everything went according to plan.
It did up until the summit. So Pasong is a Sherpa friend of mine. We were paired together. We're heading up. He has 2 successful summits. We got up to high camp, and middle of the night, we're climbing through the night because that's when everything's frozen. That's when. So
you're at high camp, which is how high?
26,000 feet.
So you're at 26, and you've got 3,000 feet to go, and you're going to do that. You're going to wake up in the middle of the night and go.
Yeah, we left at like 8 or 9, but you climb all through the night.
Yep.
Just because all your gear, your crampons, and everything is works.
How cold is it at this point?
I have a full down suit and everything. I mean, it was cold. It was below 0.
Are you sweating?
So you got to regulate, because you don't want to get hypothermia. So if you're moving too fast and it's like, okay, I'm getting too hot, just slow down. Lots of zips, air ventilation.
How's the breathing going?
It's slow. So up there in the death zone, every step it takes 5 seconds. It's just slow, but
Is it frustratingly
body,
slow?
I was doing it for over a month at that point.
Right.
So yeah.
And how many hours are you out at this point? Like you went out at 8 at night. So
so the goal is to get to the summit right around sunrise, a little bit after.
Got it.
Yeah. So at about halfway at the balcony, 27,500, I was moving pretty efficiently. I got up there and Pasang was inching back, and I waited up there for about an hour, and he finally showed up, and he's like, it's not feeling good. Gave him some water. He threw up. So at that point, I figured we're done. So I'm like, all right, it's not our day. And we're the only two.
How's the weather at this point?
It's good. So the next day, they were going to have 50-mile-an-hour gusts.
So this was your day. Take it or leave it, right?
Yeah. You don't really have too many shots up there.
But I mean, you heard about the weather the next day. So if you don't get up, I guess you can come down and wait a couple of days.
Yeah, we'd already planned. We only have so much gear.
Yep.
So we'd probably have to go all the way back down, which is fine if that's what we had to do.
Yep.
But he assured me, no, we're good. Let's continue. I'm like, okay. We continue 28,000 feet. He's like, taps out. He's done. So at that point, the real decision. So this is, major deal, because I will be completely soloing. No one is going from Tibet or Nepal at this point, which is very rare.
Right.
So I factor everything within my control at the moment, weather, conditions, everything else.
There's no other teams up there at this point?
No, they're all down at 26,000.
Yeah.
And most important thing, can Pasang get down? He's like, yeah, I'm good. In fact, he said he's going to wait right there.
Okay.
So he ended up actually going all the way down.
He's going to wait for you 1,000 feet below Summit. You expect to summit and come back in how long a period of time, you think?
Yeah, it'd be maybe 3 to 4 hours.
So he's going to sit there for 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah,
okay.
Which he ended up going down to high camp, which smart thing to do.
Yep.
But anyways, at that moment, I turned up, he went down, and next couple hours, just making my way up, and last few feet, I mean, it's just a crazy experience to reach the summit of Everest and then to have it,
Well, before you get to that, what I'm curious about is when he said he's going to wait there, and you leave, and you come back to that spot and he's not there, does that screw things up? Or is it just such a single track at that point? He must have gone down.
Yeah. So, as far as the path?
Yeah.
So on Everest and large, like Himalayan peaks and, Denali and different areas, we'll put fixed lines.
Yep.
So ropes that are attached to anchor points.
Yep.
So the path is pretty obvious.
Got it.
And
so if he's not there, he must have gone down.
Correct.
It's not like you'd wait there then looking for him.
Correct, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you get to the top.
Get to the top, take the highest selfie in the world, radio call down, let everyone know I'm there and safe.
Yep.
And you don't have much time up there. So
10 minutes, an hour?
Yeah, hour or less.
Yep.
Yeah, time just kind of stands still. You're just trying to process that moment in the moment, and it's impossible. I'm still processing it. I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
And turn around, start heading down, and about 10, 15 feet, everything goes completely white. And what happened is I went snowblind. And what that is, it's the sunburning of the cornea. So the day prior, my goggles had cracked, and as I was going up with oxygen and the mask, through the crack, they were freezing between layers. So I ended up ripping the lens out. So it went down to one lens, probably cut their effectiveness in half, having blue eyes, third of the ozone protection up there. Just as soon as that sun banked, fried my cornea. Usually takes 24 hours to return. I wouldn't regain my eyesight for about a month and a half.
Wow. So now you're going down, and what are you doing? You're following the fixed lines?
Well, the first thing I did is I dropped down and grabbed the rope and just assessed the situation.
Was it instant?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. A snowblind is it's instant.
I could see now, and 2 seconds later I can't.
Right. Yeah, and I mean it's white. It's not like black.
Right.
It's bright white. If you put a light bulb in front of your face, like you could move your finger and you'd know something just moved. Right. You cannot focus.
Wow.
And it feels like if you put like potato chips in your eyelids.
Yeah.
It's just that scratching. You don't realize how often your eyes are moving. I don't recommend it. And at that moment,
you sit down. You get on the radio.
No.
No, you don't want to tell anybody.
Well, no one's going to come get me.
Yeah.
And
right.
couldn't see to like.
You got to deal with it.
Yeah.
So what? Tell me what's happening in your head.
So
you're not going to die. You're saying to yourself, like, is that a moment?
Well, likelihood is I am going to die.
Right.
Compartmentalize that. Like I'm not. If I'm going to die fighting. So in the Navy, in my job as a air rescue swimmer, I mean, they taught you never panic. Panic kills. And I think a lot of that came back. And I just compartmentalized everything. And I stood up and started moving. So slowly moving, hand over hand. And, I had to get down 40-foot rock climbs, Hillary Step.
And you're trying to remember what it was like going up in order to...
Yeah. Right. Using my other senses, but honestly, I'm not normally blind.
Right.
So I was trying so hard to use my eyes, and they just wouldn't work.
Right.
And just felt this presence around me the whole time, this peaceful presence. I didn't think too much about it, but it was just there. And then made it over Hillary Step, got to the South Summit, and took a fall. And I was just, climb to the roof, close your eyes and jump off. It was just that, just helplessness. And the rope shock loaded. That's where the anchor points stop, and I'm upside down. And I mean, it's over a mile drop where I'm at. And my oxygen mask is ripped from my face. My bottle's coming out, and my heart's just racing. I right myself, grab my mask, and just had to calm myself down. It's something we learned in the Navy often.
I happen to only understand what you're saying regarding the Navy because I was just with the Air Force down in Special Ops, and they tortured me in a pool for 4 hours.
Okay.
And they had me underwater, and they ripped my mask off. Nothing like what you're talking about here, but then they attack you while you're holding your breath underwater. And so I know the training you went through really helped you in this situation.
Yeah, it certainly did.
So you right yourself.
Yep. I kind of traversed over, got to a point where Pasong had actually left an extra oxygen bottle. I knew I'd be out soon, so I fumble around with my regulator. Doesn't work. So I didn't have all day to troubleshoot. For whatever reason, I put the 15 extra pounds in my pack and kept moving. Eventually got to the point where he was supposed to be. Called out. He wasn't there. I'm like, he must have went down. That's all he could have done. I remember being happy. This was like that halfway point.
Yeah.
And just started...
Happy because you've made it this far.
Yeah.
Right.
And the rest was like 20 pitches of rappel.
Right.
So just started going. About 20 feet into it, my mask just sucks into my face. Ran out of oxygen. And I remember just ripping my mask off and just, at this point, I'd been climbing for over 30 hours from the day prior to this point, and just really witnessed a miracle at that point. Just, I couldn't do it anymore on my own. Just prayed, God, I can't do this. And at that moment, just felt like someone lifted me up, just had this energy. And I grabbed the other oxygen bottle that previously failed, and first thing I tried, and got a positive flow. And I remember just sucking like 5 breaths of air, and just the pain of air re-entering. It was like life. It burned like fire. And didn't overthink it. Just was loving this life. Yeah. And just started rappelling down. Got down to kind of a flatter area. It's the last quarter mile. It's on this ice bulge. And out of nowhere, Pasong, he just hugs me. He's like, Brian, you alive? Never saw him coming. He's like, I'm so sorry I leave you. I'm like, don't worry about it, dude.
Pretty happy you're here right now.
Yeah, and he helped me back. Yeah. And I passed out for like 15 hours. My eyes were glued shut. Lost 20 pounds, black eyes. Still 2.5 days to get down to base camp, and 38 miles on foot to get out.
Wow. Are you happy you did it?
Climbed Everest?
Yeah.
I'm happy of the outcome. Yeah. If I would have known all that was going to happen, then, of course that helps with the decision. At the time, you make choices in life. You live and die by them. Yeah. I feel very blessed to be alive, very blessed to, encourage others that are going through hard times, kind of a baseline. Hopefully no one has a blind descent on Everest like I did, but everyone has their obstacles in life. And just to have those conversations and just kind of, help encourage them to get through it. It's a different purpose. There's pre-Everest and post.
Yeah. Let's take a break. Maybe we'll go climb the mountain and come back and finish the podcast.
Hey Spartans, what's up? Anne LaRue here. Hate to interrupt your podcast. Hope you're enjoying it, but we're going to continue on with our 31 habits of the healthiest Spartans. So now we're on habit number 8. When we started way back on habit number 1, we talked about shortening your eating window. So today we're going to build off of that with an approach to intermittent fasting. We're going to go off and learn about a 20 to 24 hour fast. So let's learn how to do that. Number 1, you want to start by optimizing your nutrition before you start the fast. So the day prior, you want to make sure you're really focusing on quality food getting in, lots of veggies, good sources of fruit, quality proteins, and healthy fats. It's important to build that base so that your body goes into the fast with optimal nutrition. Next, you want to make sure that you don't make the biggest mistake that people do, which is trying to fast from sunup to sundown. Instead, I want you to start fasting right after dinner. That way, a portion of your fast is going to actually happen while you're sleeping. So right after you finish dinner in the evening, your fast has begun. What you're going to do is you're just not going to eat until that same dinner time the next day. So if you finished eating dinner at 6 p.m., you're just not going to eat again until 6 p.m. tomorrow. This way, you never actually go a full day without eating, but we cover a 20 to 24 hour time frame. So what's the last piece that's going to be important? Water, plenty of water. A fast is a great way for the body to do a natural detoxification. What it needs in order to do that is plenty of water. This will also help you when you have hunger cravings. Hunger tends to come in waves. It's going to come and go. So covering that hunger wave with water is going to be a way that you can help make it through that 20 to 24 hour fast and come out the other side feeling great. That's habit number 8. We'll be back next time for habit number 9. If you'd like a full list of all 31 habits, go to life.spartan.com/habits. Back to the podcast.
Yeah, so I don't know if we, did I tell you about the ocean containers? Yeah. So the story gets crazier, and you don't know this. So right here in base camp, they have 4 ocean containers set up, and they want to do it to help people with PTSD, or at least start the conversation that they want to experience that, right? Where they're living in a dark box. And so for 24 hours, they're going to run on a treadmill with no light, no outside support, and try to go as many miles as they can. And I just convinced they have 4 containers, only 3 people doing it. The 4th container was for other people to experience it for a minute or 2.
Okay.
I ran into Isaiah Vidal, who's an elite Spartan athlete, who for years, he's like my baby brother, I have tried to push him out of his comfort zone. I ran into him in the bathroom. I was going in, he was coming out. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Nothing." I said, "You racing?" Because he's an elite athlete. "No, I'm not racing this one." I said, "They're going in the ocean containers in 25 minutes. How do you feel about?" He goes, "What are you talking about?" He's in the container now. He's going 24 hours. Wow. He is in the container. So they're going to be feeling, I guess, for 24 hours, kind of how you felt, although they know the door is going to open. You didn't know, right? You just didn't know. And so, and they say if you're in your own head, you're behind enemy lines. So if people are out there, right, and they're having a tough time in life, what would you say the number one thing is, or top 2 or 3 things are that you learned probably in the Navy that got you through that?
Yeah, I mean,
don't panic, you said.
Don't panic, but mental toughness. I mean, we get in our heads, we make every excuse in the world. Even I have so many people that want to climb, want to go hike, want to do adventures with me, and they'll always put their own barrier in the way. When I get in shape or when this, I'm like, I'll just tell them, stop talking, because that day's never going to come. If you're not going to commit, like, what's better than today? I'm like, I will decrease what I'm doing to their level to help them out.
Sure.
And I think that mental toughness of, I guess, just survival, because once you lose your mind.
Not everybody wakes up in the morning and says that they have mental toughness. I believe everybody has it. I used to say to people, look, if we're running 30 miles, you might get tired 3 miles in, I'll get tired 10 miles in. But now we're both tired.
Right.
Now what? Right? So we all have it, but maybe some of us don't know how to pull it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You had no choice.
Yeah. I mean, I was put to the ultimate test, and fortunately, I'm alive to talk about it. There's been plenty of people. There's 200 plus bodies on the mountain still. Yeah. Why am I here and they're not?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's survivor's guilt.
There's last name Frank, Dr. Frank, Cornell University, playing tennis, and he has a heart attack, and he's dying on the tennis court. And they call 911, but he's going to die. There's no way that everyone's going to make it in time, except that 5 minutes earlier, someone else was having an issue a block away, and 2 ambulances showed up by accident. And so they saved his life. And he says, it's all luck. Even though we all talk about you make your own luck, right? Like, in some ways, those 200 bodies, yes, maybe they gave up and you didn't, but a little bit's luck, right?
I'm sure.
I mean, you didn't have to put that canister back in.
Yeah.
it was almost subconscious, it sounds like.
Maybe it was part of the plan. Everything that happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
Someday maybe I'll know.
Then maybe we'll know. How do you stay calm? How do you stay calm under pressure?
I'm a pretty calm person, and I noticed. I don't know if I always was. And I think the military training definitely created calmness. It's either you suck water and you die, and they would revive people on the side of the pool, and some people they couldn't revive. They put us in evolutions where they'd wrap us in a parachute with the shroud lines, throw us in the deep end, get out, right? And you start thrashing, those shroud lines are going to get more entangled. Right. If you stay calm and do this, it creates an air pocket, and you eventually come out. Right. So it's just, maybe it's over time and practice getting in those situations. So many people in this world avoid obstacles. They see it, boom, they try to go around it, any other way, turn around, I'm done. Right. But how do you know what you're capable of doing if you're always avoiding? And then you increase your ability, the next time that you're in that position.
No, it's true. We all know we're going to face some sort of obstacles in life. Somebody's going to die of cancer, God forbid, right? We're going to get sick. And so if you don't practice, and that's what you're saying, then how would you possibly master dealing with the stuff that's coming? Yeah.
I love Malcolm Gladwell's book about the adaptive unconscious. And it's just that, because people in the military, you're heightened, you're training, you can just snap to it without even thinking. And the further you get away from that practice, is your responses slow down as well. Yeah.
Learned helplessness, almost. We interviewed a woman who had climbed Everest and the 7 summits, and she said, we've learned helplessness. Yeah. Right? Well, when you're in the parachute and going on the water, it's the same. What do you say to yourself?
I don't think I say anything to myself in those moments. It's about
going to practice.
It's about focus. It's focusing on what needs to be done, and it's breaking it into small bits. When you look at it as a whole, it's overwhelming, and that can clutter your mind. That can cause panic, and panic makes your heart go faster, and you're breathing a lot faster and deeper. And
so knowing the science of what actually happens, the biology of what happens, helps you too.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
Because then you actually can go through a thought process.
Yeah. Even though you may not be thinking in that detail at the time, you just know, keep it calm.
Yeah. Well, it's not just a cliche.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Explain getting out of your own way, which I guess is what we were talking about, right? Because you'd be in your own way if you were wiggling in the example of the pool.
Yeah, but I think getting in your own way is also making excuses. It's creating those barriers that are just unnecessary.
Fictitious obstacles. Right? Yeah. I'm not in shape. I'm not here. Yeah. I was just on a panel with somebody, and he said, people will ask him, how do I run 100 miles? He said, do you have a computer? Yes. You have Google? Yes. Sign up for a race. That's how you run 100 miles.
That's your motivation. Right. Now you're committed.
Right.
Yep. And even if you go 80 miles, you made it 80%.
Exactly.
It's better than doing 0%.
Which you weren't doing a month ago.
Yep.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the book.
You bet.
Anybody out there, check this book out. It's not enough to climb Everest. It's you got to throw in the blind descent.
Yeah, let's not do that.
It was awesome.
Well, I'll tell you, what a remarkable story of survival, of fortitude, all the things we talk about, right? Grit and determination and the rest of it. But just as with many of our guys, how understated and calm. And just, he kept talking about, he had to remain calm. Well, you can tell he remains calm. That's
today.
That's his nature, right? But I'll tell you what, to be faced with those circumstances, to go blind in the middle of an event, whatever the event would be,
right,
and then have to finish. If I was walking across my bedroom at night and I couldn't see,
right,
I mean, I'd be worried about stubbing my toe or falling down or whatever, right? I mean, you would come to a complete stop.
Yep.
And yet he didn't have that choice.
Right.
And his calmness, I think, kind of hides how dramatic an event it would be. If there's somebody up there and they're the kind of storyteller that has you on the edge of your seat and they make it seem even more incredible than it was, I just want people to understand that this is way more incredible even than Brian makes it out to be. Like, he just sort of his calm demeanor, which is probably why he was able to survive it. But I think people would maybe take for granted, no big deal. Not get that, my God.
Yeah, because he's talking about, it was well below zero. And, it's 29,000 feet up. There's only 1/3 of the oxygen.
And people don't have a frame of reference for that.
Right, because most people will never experience that, right? They don't really understand what that's like. They don't understand not to have oxygen. And when he was talking about that each step is like 5 seconds, just
the rest steps.
The movement of that's how the energy it takes, and to go 29,000 feet at that pace, or maybe only the top portion, but still. Just his background, his training, where he grew up. He talked about his whole life kind of in the woods in the Pacific Northwest, and being that guy, everything led to that moment that allowed him to realize what he needed to do and stay calm and follow that rope down.
Yeah.
But again, as he said, that mountain is littered with bodies.
Yep.
200 plus bodies of people for whatever reason, circumstances did not favor them. So they didn't make it. But, he through his training, through his perseverance, through his belief in himself, was able to overcome all of that.
One thing I noticed, and it was, again, kind of understated when you said about the belief in himself, you could tell a few times he was sort of alluding to a spiritual event too as well when he said, he suddenly felt a calmness and later on he said he feels much more blessed than he did before. And I really appreciated, he conveyed how important it was for him spiritually without being blunt force about it. You know what I mean? Like some people will, hit you in the head with it, and that's great. But he just, you can tell he's a guy who, he's internalized this. He wants to share the benefit of it. But much like the way he does everything, it's in a very calm, understated way. I thought that was great.
I wonder, though, if part of that, too, is learned for him, because he did talk about, remember being wrapped in the parachute during training and being thrown into the pool and like learning to slowly, because when you panic, it wraps you more up. But to slowly sort of expand yourself to get out of it. So that moment when he talks about that in the podcast was profound for me, in the sense that we've all been in not that moment, right? But like moments where we panic and it just feels like we're grasping at anything to maybe help us, when it feels like just breathing and centering and sort of like calming yourself down so that you can use like the wise part of your brain that actually knows how to survive.
And it's funny, the time that's least intuitive is when it's most important. When I'm directing a race, I say to people, the worse what's going on is, the calmer you have to be on the radio. If somebody's head is just popped off, that is not the time I need you screaming, somebody's head popped off.
Right. Totally. You don't match their emotion. You actually do the opposite. Yeah.
Incredible. Another thing that he talked about that I really liked is when he said, that Joe and he talked about that the climbing's not the hard part, it's being in the tent and not being able to move. And he said, I was never very good at sitting on the couch.
Right.
And he said that his wife understands that. He said, she gets who I am. He said, this is not her bag at all. But she knows that if I'm like every other husband at home sitting watching TV on the couch, I'm not living my life.
Right.
And I thought that was good that he recognized that.
But how hard is that for the spouse?
Oh, sure.
To send your husband off, or to say, sure, go climb the mountain. And I know 200 people haven't come down off of that mountain.
Yeah.
And maybe it's no different than a wife or a husband kissing their policeman, a husband or wife every day. Off for a soldier or whatever. But I mean, that's hard to do.
I'll share a quick personal story with you. Years ago, a friend of mine was going to climb Rainier, and his wife posted online about how she really didn't want him to go, but she knew that he had to go. And my girlfriend at the time said, you know what, that's terrible that he's going when she doesn't want him to go. I said, I don't know, what do you mean? She said, the fact that she doesn't want him to go, he shouldn't go. And I said, would you want me to go? She said, no. I said, then you wouldn't be my girlfriend anymore.
Well, no, I can definitely see where that would break up relationships, right?
Well,
and we just talked about military and police
need to understand,
have a very bad divorce rate, right?
Yeah, sure.
Or high divorce rate because of that exact same issue.
Yeah, you need to understand that, like, if there's something you need to do and it's who you are, my asking you to not be that way anymore isn't good for either of us.
I think, to me, it's about like understanding the values of your partner or your spouse or the people in your life who matter to you, and you don't have to have the same value as them, but respecting and recognizing that value system to them makes them part of who they are.
100%. Yeah.
And I think also it matters why he's doing it. Right, he talks about it that he climbs to inspire. He climbs to inspire his friends, his family, the larger community. So it's not that he's not going out to climb a mountain for his personal glorification.
Right.
Yeah.
He's doing it for the benefit of others, or what he thinks is, and I would agree with him. So it's what the intent or the purpose behind the act is.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Yeah. Another thing they talked about was the idea, and Joe brought it up, but the idea that when you're in your own head, you're behind enemy lines.
Right.
And it's funny because that's something we all accept as true. And I love that this guy kind of approaches it the other way. The idea is, you're you're in your own head, but how can you make sure it's not enemy lines? Like how can you do it in such a way that
make it positive.
Yeah. And he says you just stop, you pause, you sit, you take a breath, you do whatever you need to do. And he also talked about a lot of time he doesn't think. And I like that. And he said, you don't think, you just, you do what you've learned to do.
Well, that's experience, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's muscle memory. That's all of those things.
Yep.
Right.
That's like running a race. Let's say if you would run a race and you've run it so many times that you forget that you've even gone to the spear throw.
Laura today did the race out here, did wonderfully. And then afterwards was watching it on TV and went, there's a spear throw? So we're trying to piece together.
I
Tim,
consumed by it. I am not a cheater.
Tim,
I
perhaps somewhat charitably, Tim saying, I think you did it. I think you just don't remember. You've done it so many times.
You were running so fast.
I love that idea.
No, you were running
in the
fast.
zone. In the
That
zone.
actually segues perfectly into something I've got from here. And it's that they talked about if you've never been in difficult situations, then every situation seems difficult.
Yeah.
You know, and you're
Well,
talking about
that's the whole obstacle immunity, right?
100%.
The more you face, the better you're going to be at the next one.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And the worse this thing seems, once you've gotten through it, you have a new frame of reference for what difficult means, right? Like, I'm sure that you can't throw much at this guy that's going to throw him off when he says, yeah, it's not quite as bad as when I had to climb down Everest completely blind, never having been blindfolded or anything before.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah.
When he talked about putting the air tank that he thought was empty, but he grabbed it anyway. And then when he turned it back on the second time, it worked. You know, and again, you're doing that. I'm trying to picture a guy on his hands and knees who can't see, feeling around.
I know.
And the Sherpa had left it there for him.
Yeah.
But where? He must have known exactly where to go to tie it at. I don't know enough about mountain climbing to know how that works.
It's funny. I haven't been at the top of Everest. I've been at the top of Aconcagua, the other mountain he and Joe talked about. So I know about being pinned down in the tent and things like that. But one thing that really struck me when he was describing this, he's describing that this is one of the mountains that has a fixed line at the top. When it's very technical, you're on a fixed line. So there's only so far he can go. So once he gets to that point and he recognizes that it's flattened out and this is where they were, he's not searching a 100 feet by 100 foot radius.
Yeah.
He's just tapping around the only area they could be. And again, that's the other thing with this story that
well, maybe it's not that impressive then.
No, it's pretty impressive. Because it's extremely technical coming down. You got to unclip and clip back in. But it's not like trying to walk home in the middle of the desert blind, where you're just there's nowhere to go. There's only one way to go. It's just an incredibly difficult thing to do.
Right.
So, so that's I think we're all pretty blown away by it.
Yeah.
And
well, I tell you, for anybody that saw this but wants to know more, I'd go get his book.
Yeah. Blind Descent.
And hopefully he talked about a movie coming out, and I tell you, I would go see that.
Well, I'm told they might cast you.
As what, a Sherpa? I'd eat yak butter all the way up the mountain.
Thanks for listening to Spartan Up. We're here to be your partner in resilience training for mind, body, and spirit. We've got tips on leadership, the Spartan mindset, Spartan nutrition, just living life like a Spartan. Almost every day of the week, we're here to help you stay on track. And if you like the show, help us on our mission. We want to rip 100 million people off the couch and give them the tools to keep going. And the best marketing for podcasts like this is people like you. So please tell your friends about it and come back whenever you can. We'll be here for you.